Good morning, good people. This is Wednesday, October the 13th, 2021. This is Wake Up with Ray G. Y'all know who it is, your boy Ray G. And I am joined, as always, by my man, my partner in crime, my friend, Jay Rich. Jay, how you doing this morning, baby?
I'm good, man. And it's funny, you said my friend, and I was like, wow, I wonder how long it's been since you've called me your friend live on air.
Not
so
often.
I'm honored to be your friend. And it must mean you're in a good mood. So I'm assuming you got a good night's sleep. You know, we talked late last night. It was about 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. You were groggy. You told me to go to sleep, but I'm like, no, Ray, I have to put together a good show sheet for your show.
I was in the bed at 8:30, man. I couldn't hang. I was in the bed at 8:30, bro. Exhausted. But yeah, man, it's a good day. We're here. We got a lot to talk about across all the sports. I mean, college football. Wednesdays are sort of like the days in between, right? We got Thursday night football tomorrow, the college football slate Saturday, NBA stuff heating up left and right, news, MLB, all types of stuff. But, man, before we get started, I need some help from our listeners. I need some help from the people, man, because over the past couple of weeks, I'll just tell you, I have been very intrigued and just fascinated by stars and planets. Like, I've just been fascinated. Like, in my backyard, like, it's clear, like clear skies, and you can see all these stars. And I just find it just fascinating that it makes you feel so tiny. You know what I mean? When they're like, I tweeted out a picture. I was like, what planet is this? I know it's a planet. What planet is it? And everyone's like, oh, that's Venus. And it's just, to me, to just think about how big the universe is and to be able to see that from my backyard right outside of Dallas, Texas, I just think it's really cool. So I'm actually looking to get a telescope. Like, I want like a legit one too. I know.
So
I want a legit.
Not only are you in a great mood, but you're also flexing your lack of air pollution where you live now in the boonies a little bit. So I really appreciate you taking the time to flex on everyone like that. You know, not everyone is as lucky as old GQ to move out to the country, has that beautiful, beautiful sky to look up to every night. But yeah, nice. That's interesting. I did not expect that this morning. So good for you. You should hit up Kevin, man. Kevin's super into all that astronomy
really?
stuff.
I'm not even playing. Like, I want a legit telescope. Like, I want like a good one where I can see shit. Like, I want to be able to see craters on the moon. Like, I want to feel like I want to be able to see it. Whatever NASA has, I need the tier below NASA. Whatever that is, as long as it doesn't cost like a crazy amount. But I want.
You may have to rob a university to get that.
Oh, they're that expensive? I have not looked up the cost of a telescope. Are they expensive like that?
Well, I mean, you just said seeing craters on the moon. I mean, I'm sure you could get telescopes ranging from $200 up to $30,000. It just depends on how much you want to spend at the end of the day.
Let me see. Okay, I see. These are not cheap. $89,000. What?
Think about how far you have to look.
Listen to this. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this Lunt Solar System 300 millimeter double stack H alpha telescope, $89,000, and then they charge you $111 for delivery.
They can't even give you free delivery.
Couldn't even give with $100,000. All right, we'll continue to monitor GQ telescope watch, but I want to get one. But anyways, what's going on? Wait, what telescope's the closest thing we'll get to SpaceX for Ray? Legit, Stone. Like, I'll never be able to take the casual trip to outer space. So I just got to get a damn telescope to be able to see and imagine. Use my imagination. It'll be fun with the kids, man. But we got a lot to get into this morning. NBA is, listen, we've been talking about this, behind the scenes, just casually. This whole Kyrie Irving situation with the Brooklyn Nets and Ben Simmons and the Philadelphia 76ers. Ben popped up. There's still a lot of people who think this is like a malicious compliance. Like he's there, but he really doesn't want to be there and is going to like force his way out. The Brooklyn Nets came out to say that Kyrie Irving he's not doing anything, right? He's not going to practice with the team, play any games with the team until he's fully vaccinated. Just catch us up on this Brooklyn Nets Kyrie Irving situation.
So yesterday, Sean Marks, the GM for the Brooklyn Nets, released a statement basically saying that Kyrie Irving will not play for the Brooklyn Nets until he is eligible. So let's not say that until he's vaccinated. They're not forcing him to be vaccinated. They're saying that he has the right to his own body, like a lot of people do. But the problem is that until he actually is eligible to play, which right now New York State law is preventing him from playing, he is not going to be allowed to play, period. They're not going to allow a part-time player on the team. And so because of that, they're basically saying, Kyrie Irving, stay at home, do whatever you want to do, but you will not be playing for the Brooklyn Nets. We need to focus on our team and focus on this championship. So if the laws don't change and nothing changes for Kyrie Irving as far as vaccination status, which we don't expect it to, he will not be playing at all for the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm really curious how this situation affects their salary cap, because Kyrie Irving is not a cheap player. He's like a $30 million a year player. He's probably played even more than that. So if Kyrie Irving's not playing, are they able to then go out and trade for a player who is, that can fill that salary void, that can help that team out for this year? I'm kind of curious how that would work, because they're technically not paying him. He's not going to be on the books. The NBA already stated you don't have to pay players if they're not vaccinated and they're ineligible to play. That's how we saw Andrew Wiggins ultimately get vaccinated. Kyrie, not the same story. He's going to do what he wants to do, and we understand that. But the Nets have made a firm stance that he will not be playing for them unless he is eligible to play full-time and not on a part-time basis, which to me is a really good stance to have. I was expecting, honestly, exceptions to be made for Kyrie Irving. We already saw that the Nets were going to allow him to practice initially, and he was allowed by state law to practice initially, but that stance has changed. Now the GM is saying, nope, he's not practicing, not playing, period. How do you feel about this, Ray? Because like for me, I think the Nets are still fine. Like I still think they have KD, they still have James Harden, but I'm not sure how this leaves them as far as the East overall standings go.
Yeah, I mean, this is I don't think it's good for the Nets. You know what I'm saying? To have a player like Kyrie not active or not being able to get something in return for Kyrie is not good for Brooklyn. I kind of equate it to the Golden State Warriors, right? Like Klay Thompson's not there. They're okay with Steph Curry, but I don't know. It's not the same, because Brooklyn has Kevin Durant and James Harden, whereas the Golden State Warriors without Klay, it's Steph and Klay, right? So it's not the same, but this is not good, because I mean that's a 25, 26 point per game player that you're missing those points out from. And say what you want about Kyrie Irving, he's one of the best scorers in the NBA. I mean, he can take it to the cup. He can kill you from outside. He's got a mid-range game. His ball handling skills are probably the best in the league. He's just an incredible player. So for them not to have him, even though I believe they only played like 7 games last year or like something 10 games like that, with all 3 of them on the court at the same time, we keep talking about Ben Simmons, and the more that I hear other analysts talk about that situation, I think Ben Simmons being traded to Brooklyn makes a ton of sense for both teams. And it allows Ben Simmons to sort of do the things that he does well, which is distribute the ball, play great defense. You talked about the rebounding. Do those things, which Brooklyn desperately needs, and then allow James Harden to facilitate, score, Kevin Durant to be the ultimate scorer. Will that happen? I don't know, man. But like we talked about yesterday, NBA drama, honestly, is like the best drama in sports. So this is, Kyrie's got a right to do what he wants to do, and that right will cause you to miss out on millions of dollars and not be able to help your team win. Like, if you don't want to get vaccinated, that's cool. That's your decision. That's your prerogative, but you will not be a part of this organization. And you're seeing more and more companies, more and more places sort of implement these policies regarding vaccination. So, apparently Kyrie Irving doesn't believe in any type of vaccination. And again, that's his prerogative. That's fine. Kyrie also believes the earth is flat. So
Who knows, man?
I don't know what
like
else
you
to
said,
say,
it's
but
just
he's forfeiting a lot of money.
ramifications for your actions, right? That's what it comes down to. It's the ramifications for his actions. He has to live with that. Nets have to live with that. But the other piece of news that to me was really, really interesting is Zaire Wade, the son of future NBA Hall of Famer Dwyane Wade, is going to be signing a G League contract with the Salt Lake Stars, who are the G League affiliate of the Utah Jazz. We know that in April of 2021 this year, Dwyane Wade purchased an ownership stake in the Utah Jazz, so it seems only fitting that his son ultimately ends up there. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, Ray, because I don't know if you know this. Do you know that Dwyane Wade's name is spelt wrong?
What do you mean it's spelled wrong?
His name is spelled Dwyane instead of Dwayne. And for some reason, I think the story goes is that his parents spelt it wrong at his birth, and he never ever got it changed. So if you actually search his name right now, it's not Dwayne like Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
It is.
It's Dwyane.
Interesting.
That's weird, right?
I didn't know that, but interesting fun fact today. Okay. His son. Listen, all these high profile NBA players, their sons, they're gonna get opportunities to play in the league. I mean, we're seeing it with the Ball family, with LiAngelo Ball. And he didn't he too sign a G League?
He also signed a G League contract. Yeah.
He signed a G League contract. We'll see. Just, and he signed it with the Charlotte Hornets affiliate organization?
No, he's going to be in the draft. I guess there's a G League draft on the 21st, I believe. But Zaire Wade, he's
he played
a little bit of an exception.
But LiAngelo played summer league with the Charlotte Hornets, right? With their affiliates.
Did play summer league with the No, he played with the Charlotte Hornets, not with the G League team. He played with the team. So we'll see what happens there, whether he ends up in Charlotte. I know you're hoping for it, and we saw LeVar released his new shoe line yesterday.
God. Do we not have pictures of those shoes?
I wanted to pull them. I was just like, this is too stupid.
I gotta pull these.
He's just sitting there in his suit. He's like, "Welcome to the new lifestyle brand, Big Baller brand shoes."
I gotta pull a picture.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? We
can circle back to that if you want.
No, I've already got it. I've already got it. We're not circling back. I'm putting it on the screen right now. These are the LeVar Ball.
The shoes and the pose.
I mean, these ones in the middle, the I told you so black.
Yeah.
They look like legitimate clown shoes. Like, I'm not even joking. They look like clown shoes. And the price are what, $600? Between $600 and $800 for these shoes that takes 6 months for you to get them. So, yeah. Big Baller brand, baby. Big Baller brand. Triple B's. Where else we going with the news?
The other piece of news that I just added in there because I thought it was hilarious is the Lakers lost last night. It was their debut with Russ, AD, and LeBron. They lost 111-99 to the Golden State Warriors, and that was without Steph, Clay, Draymond, and James Wiseman. So not a good look for the Lakers. It is still preseason, but it's pretty embarrassing they did lose to them because they lost to the Golden State Warriors B team. And just so you know, Ray, the Lakers open up at home against the Warriors in 1 week. So they will be playing the full-blown Warriors in a week, I believe at Staples Center. And that will be, I think it's the opening day, but it may not be because I believe that Giannis and the Nets play opening day as well. So I forget exactly what day it is, but I know that they do play the Warriors. Lakers do play the Warriors opening day. So that is pretty interesting to see that they just lost. And so it's like LeBron and AD and Russ are talking about how they have to figure out the chemistry thing, and it'll come, but it wasn't so great last night.
Yep, I'm nervous as a longtime Lakers fan. I'm very interested to see how this Russell Westbrook-led team is going to play out. I have my concern. I can't wait for basketball, man. NBA is just so fun. It's just a fun sport, and I think we're going to have some fun doing some bets on the NBA games. But, Jordan, the MLB, Major League Baseball playoffs, full swing, right?
I know. I can't believe you're not watching. I know you're not watching. I'm telling you to watch.
I was literally in the bed at 8 o'clock last night, and you called me, and I'm in there naked.
Okay, well, the Houston Astros played at 2 p.m. yesterday.
I'm at fucking work at that time. How am I supposed to watch?
Watch on your phone. Come on. You got multiple Apple devices. You can make it work. So the Astros beat the Chicago White Sox yesterday 10-1 to advance to their 5th ALCS in a row. They're going to be playing the Boston Red Sox, who they lost to in the ALCS in 2018. The Dodgers started Walker Buehler last night on short rest to force a Game 5 in San Francisco. It's going to be played tomorrow at 9 p.m. That'll be a good game, Ray. So we're going to have to stay up late for that one. We're going to be up late watching Thursday Night Football anyways, so we're going to have to watch that one too. And then the Atlanta Braves advanced to the NLCS after a home run in the 8th inning off of Josh Hader by Freddie Freeman. Then they closed it out in the top of the 9th. It was a spectacular performance from the Braves. Came back from down 2 runs multiple times throughout the game. It was spectacular. They're going to be playing either the Dodgers or the Giants in the NLCS, so we will await to see who they play. We'll find that out on Thursday, but I'm super excited for what I'm seeing right now. Red Sox, Astros, Braves, and then Dodgers or Giants should make a great CS series for the MLB playoffs.
Who's your pick for who do you think is going to make it to the World Series? Like, who do you think ultimately gets there? Or what do the fans, like, what do most baseball fans want to see? Like, what would give us the best World Series matchup from an entertainment standpoint, storylines? What would be the better World Series matchup?
I think the best matchup would be, I think storylines, you have to throw the Dodgers in there. As much as, the Giants being the Dodgers is cool. I think storyline wise, you have to have the Dodgers in there. I don't know if people would rather see a rematch of Houston and the Dodgers or the Red Sox and the Dodgers. I would rather see the Red Sox and the Dodgers, but I think it could go either way. People still hate Houston because they cheated to win the World Series over the Dodgers. So I could see that probably being the number one, probably with Boston and the Dodgers number 2.
Didn't I tell you before the playoffs started and I knew nothing about it? I was like, what about the Astros? I said that. I said that to you.
Okay, but do we need to clarify how you thought that George Springer was still on the Astros? Do we need to let the people know about that?
I was just joking. I knew he wasn't with the Astros. But Stone says Dodgers Sox is what people want to see.
I think go either way, because now the Dodgers for sure, they have to be in there, but I think the rematch of the Astros and the Astros cheating scandal is probably the number one storyline, but it's very, very close because
nobody wants to see Atlanta. No one's talking about the Braves. Nobody wants to see the Braves.
The Braves are a great story because they lost their best player, Ronald Acuna Jr., to a torn ACL. But without him being there, the star power is kind of lost with the Atlanta Braves. Even though they're a great story, they're more of a underdog story than a triumphing giant type of story, where the Astros coming back after last season and their suspensions and stuff like that. And then on top of that, the Red Sox, same thing. Alex Cora was suspended, came back. Now the Red Sox are poised again to try and go to the World Series. It's a couple good storylines, but I think Dodgers and Houston, or Dodgers and the Red Sox, will be number one for sure.
All right, cool. So what are we getting into now? We got some. You want to go to some college football games of the week to watch? Just kind of talk about that.
Yeah, tell the people what they should be watching this week. Yeah. A lot of SEC matchups is what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, so this weekend, another listen, just every weekend from this point out, we're going to have some good college football matchups. We've got Syracuse versus Clemson, and Jay, I don't have the lines on here. So as I'm talking through these games and what I expect to see, anybody that participates in dynasty fantasy football, anybody who is a fan of the NFL draft and running backs and trying to find running backs, this is a matchup that you do not want to miss. Syracuse's ground game with their quarterback Garrett Schrader, and Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker is one of the best running backs in college football that people are not talking about. He's 5'10", 210 pounds, and right now I have him as a top 5 running back in the 2023 class. Versus Clemson, versus a very good defense. Say what you want about Clemson's offense this year. Defensively, they've been a pretty good defensive team. They've got NFL talent on, all 3 levels of the defense, on the line, in the secondary, at the linebacking core, athletic, and Sean Tucker is an absolute stud. So to see him go up against Clemson, I mean, Syracuse just wore Wake Forest out on the ground last Saturday. So that's going to be an intriguing matchup just, from an entertainment standpoint, from NFL talent. DJ Uiagalelei is still there. The wide receivers for Clemson to pay attention to. So I'm really intrigued by the Syracuse-Clemson matchup. Also, North Carolina versus Miami. Anytime you get to see one of the potential top picks in the NFL draft, Sam Howell face off against an ACC opponent, you have to tap in, watch that. Sam Howell, Josh Downs versus the Miami Hurricanes, who have been up and down this season. Just they're trying to get back on track, but it has not been the same. It has not been the same you that we're accustomed, at least I was accustomed to watching growing up. We got the 17th ranked Arkansas Razorbacks versus Auburn. Auburn, after getting stomped by Georgia, tries to rebound against an Arkansas team who barely suffered defeat versus Ole Miss last Saturday in Oxford, Mississippi. Failed 2-point conversion, which was a horrible play design by Lane Kiffin and company. Not Lane Kiffin, Kendall Briles and company. I believe it's Kendall Briles who's at Arkansas, I think. But Treylon Burks, KJ Jefferson, Raheem Sanders, AJ Green, so many talented players on Arkansas, man. They just continue to pour in talent. And to see one of the top-rated wide receivers in the 2022 NFL draft class, Treylon Burks, face off against Auburn. Auburn, you've got the craziness of Bo Nix. You have Tank Bigsby. Hunter, what's up, man? Yeah, I got some college plays that we're going to hit here in a few. LSU, Georgia versus Kentucky, number 1 versus number 11. It's going to be a good matchup, and it's at Kentucky. Will Levis versus this Georgia defense. This is going to be an important matchup for Mr. Will Levis. Will Levis is a talented-looking quarterback prospect. If I had to guess right now, he's probably on the day 2 radar, like a second-round pick. If Kyle Trask went round 2, and then Davis Mills and Kellen Mond went round 3, I'd project Will Levis in between those guys, right? I think maybe he could sneak into the late first right now. Maybe. And you're just projecting arm talent. Like we saw Teddy Bridgewater sneak into the first round. How crazy is it looking back on it, Jay, that Lamar Jackson just snuck into the first round in 2018?
I know. And they traded up for him to get him in the first round just for that fifth-year option. But to give you a little context on Georgia, Georgia is at home, so it is in Stanford.
Oh, it's at well, you didn't put it that way.
I actually wrote it as Georgia versus Kentucky instead of Georgia at Kentucky. So you just read it wrong, which is fine.
Okay,
but they are favored by 23 points. But this is an interesting matchup for me because if somehow, like this is the ultimate chaos we've been living with in college football. If somehow Kentucky won this game, it would flip the entire playoff on its head because Kentucky is one of the very few undefeated teams still left in the college football world that is still playing in the SEC. Very talented team, great defense. Like you talked about, has a star quarterback kind of in the making potentially if everything went right for him. And if he somehow beat Georgia, then, he would have a lot more cachet than he had the week before. So I'm really intrigued by this matchup just because of the potential ramifications. Where would it drop Georgia? How high would Kentucky go? Would they go to number 1? Probably not, but they would definitely move up in the playoff rankings. But yeah, because they are undefeated, they've had a pretty soft schedule so far, but if they do somehow beat Georgia, they are going to probably be in the top 4. And I mean, like after that, who knows what could happen because this season just been a shit show from the very beginning as far as what we expected and what we have. And I'm just excited to see more things happen because I don't know how it's going to break down, but I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. So, and if Kentucky does pull it off, does Kentucky jump? How high do they jump? How far would Georgia fall? Where would Alabama be ranked? We've got LSU versus Florida. I think Florida wins this one. LSU down Kayshon Boutte, down Derek Stingley Jr. It's just again, I tell all LSU fans, I hope they appreciated that 20. Looking back at that LSU team, who was the most important piece of that puzzle? Was it Joe Brady, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, or Justin Jefferson? Like, who made that? Think about that team for a minute. Joe Burrow looks like a stud. Jamar Chase is a stud. Justin Jefferson is a stud. Joe Brady. Listen, I don't know.
You're not going to say it.
I don't know.
You're going to say he's overrated?
I think he may have been a little overrated. We saw Carolina look okay early, but ultimately, what have we said about Sam Darnold? A leopard
Leopard can't change his spots.
Change his stripes. A leopard will not change his stripes, right? We've said this before over and over again. And everybody is pumping up Sam Darnold through the first 3 weeks. He's changed. Joe Brady's fixed him. And then versus Philadelphia, he goes back to seeing ghost Sam Darnold. Like, I don't believe in him long term. Carolina would be wise to look for a franchise quarterback to capitalize on the prime and the youth of DJ Moore, of Christian McCaffrey, of the talent of this defense. Listen, everyone wants to say he's the offensive coordinator guru. This is his third season coordinating offenses. This is his third season. He was only OC at LSU one year. Only 1 year at OC. And then last year at Carolina, this is year 3. I would not be hiring Joe Brady as my head coach. In my opinion, I wouldn't do it. I think that LSU team, I could have probably called plays with Clyde, with that defense, with Jamar, with Justin Jefferson, and we would have been good. I don't know, man. It's just to
answer your question. I think the most important piece is Joe Burrow. It's kind of a chalky answer, but I really do think that he elevated them far beyond what necessarily every other quarterback could have done. Joe Brady, though, he had some good pieces for sure. He had some guys that were pretty good
pieces. Okay,
and
so
they're great in the league too.
I think Florida takes down LSU. We get Texas versus Oklahoma State, 25 versus 12. Indiana versus Michigan State, and then Tennessee versus Ole Miss. So another opportunity for Matt Corral to pad his Heisman numbers, another opportunity for Kenneth Walker to pad his Heisman resume, and his NFL. Listen, Kenneth Walker, he's pushing to probably be the top running back. I think Isaiah Spiller has that locked. In my opinion, what Isaiah Spiller has done amidst everything that Texas A&M has faced this season, I think he's the top-rated running back for the NFL. I really do. I think it's Isaiah Spiller, and then I believe it's Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker has leapfrogged Breece Hall. I think I would prefer Kenneth Walker to Breece Hall right now. Do you think that's hot takey?
I think it's a little bit, because I think that Breece Hall is a little bit more versatile. But like you're talking about, I forget what the name of the coach is, but the running back coach at Michigan State, he's the one who came from Colorado who really made Philip Lindsay's career. So if you're a fan of kind of like Philip Lindsay and then you take Kenneth Walker, who's, in my opinion, a more talented running back, you can kind of see how the system, the skills will translate to the NFL. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of Kenneth Walker right now, knowing he's coached by a coach who has produced great running backs in the NFL. I think it's another reason why we should be bullish on Kenneth Walker heading to the NFL, because he's going to be a great talent and he's learning from a guy who has taught great running backs in the past. I think that's going to continue to proceed into his NFL career. But what he's doing is spectacular, man. Like, you can't take anything away from him. He is the MVP of Michigan State. And if somehow they do like run the table or something crazy, he's got a small case for the Heisman. He's probably not going to win it.
He won't win it.
He is up there in voting right now for a reason, because he's just killing it.
I think if you're talking NFL draft right now and you're like, Ray, name the 3 running backs that come off of the board first, I think it would be Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Walker, and then Breece Hall right there after that. I like Kenneth Walker. He's got the size to be a factor. He has the production. I mean, he's close to 1,000 yards on the season, just 6 games in. He's got 129 carries. So it's not even like he's getting 30, 40 carries to do this. He got 264 on Northwestern, and everybody talks about how good Northwestern is defensively. He averaged 11.5 per carry, 23 attempts, 264 and 4. Like, these are Heisman worthy numbers. He's got 2 200-yard performances. He's got 2 120-plus yard performances. He's got 9 touchdowns on the season. He won't win it, but I'm loving everything that I'm seeing out of Kenneth Walker. So, again, just another opportunity for him to pad his stats. And Hunter asked, do I have any college plays? Do you want me to just talk about those right now? I want to get
Yeah, we'll do them right now.
All right, so we're gonna look at our Prize Picks College Football Week 7 locks of the week, and I am staying in the flames of the people who have been making me money week after week. I'm going to stick to Syracuse's backfield. Sean Tucker, we talked about Sean Tucker last week. We took the over on Sean Tucker. I believe his rushing yard total last week was roughly around this yardage, I think, but he was well over 100 yards. Took him a little bit to get there. Wake Forest really tried to gear up and shut down that run, but I'm staying in the Sean Tucker and Garrett Schrader flames. Both of this team, Syracuse just wants to run the ball with Dino Babers. They just want to run the ball. So I'm taking Garrett Schrader over 54.5 yards, Sean Tucker over 89.5 yards, and on the road in a hostile environment. Well, is Texas on the road or is Texas at home in this one? Let's see. Texas really
I believe they're at home. Yeah, they're at home.
Either way, even more bullish on Bijan Robinson. Texas at home, over 110 yards. Last week, his over-under total was 109, and once they started giving him the ball, he just ripped off plays in chunks. So I'm going to roll with Bijan Robinson, Sean Tucker, and Garrett Schrader. The overs, my locks, prize pick locks of the week, over these three players. That's what I have right now. I'll tap into some more of the slate later on, but I wanted to go ahead and lock those in on prize picks right now. I'm in Texas, so that's how I have to do my prop bets is on prize picks for the most part. So make sure you lock those in, Hunter, and prize picks, shout out. Use the promo code FTN, $100 deposit match bonus with the promo code FTN. So we've got Thursday Night Football, right, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Thursday night football. Do we need to hit something to get into it?
Yeah, sure. Hit. Let's beat the rush.
Dude, the last time we did Beat the Rush, it played like 17 times. I'm very nervous. Well, no, that wasn't. That was Breakfast and Bets. I don't know. Let's just press the button. Wake up!
This is Beat the Rush.
Get out of the way, jackass!
Wake up!
This is Beat the Rush.
Get out of the way, jackass!
I told you it was going to do it. I told you it was going to do it multiple times. I told you I was so nervous, and it did it. I told you it was going to happen. All right, we got the Bucs and the Eagles. Tampa Bay is favored by 7 points in this one, over under 52.5. Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Devonta Smith. What are we doing in this one? In Tampa Bay, they're only giving Tampa Bay 7 points? That's it? That's it?
We're taking the Bucs in this one. 7 points is just not enough. I think it should be 8.5 to 10 pretty easily. I'm surprised it hasn't moved a whole lot. I did get it at 5.5 on Monday, so I am happy about that. But this at 7, I think you're giving the Eagles a little bit too much credit right now. And while I do like the Eagles, I think they're a great team. I think they played pretty well last week. I don't think their defense is going to be able to do shit against the Bucs because Tom Brady's going to slice and dice them all day long. Leonard Fournette is looking better and better every week. The only player who's somewhat limited on offense is Chris Godwin, and he still led the team in targets. Caught 7 passes, had 70 yards, just didn't score a touchdown. So how exactly is Philly going to stop this offense? They gave up, I think, almost 300 yards, 5 touchdowns to Patrick Mahomes. So what is Tom Brady going to do to this team? I don't really understand how the line's only 7 points, but we'll see. The Bucs are on the road, if that means anything. Hostile environment for Brady, but he's used to it. He's a veteran quarterback, greatest of all time, played in plenty of hostile environments. I'm not worried about that. He's going to have his team ready to go. We know that Gronk is not playing.
Yeah, Gronk is out.
He's confirmed not playing. We know that Brady's dealing with a minor thumb injury. Levante David is trending in the wrong direction after missing practice both Monday and Tuesday. So that's not great. And then Antoine Winfield is dealing with a concussion right now. So problem with concussions.
And you said their center, right? The center, Ryan Jensen?
Yeah, Ryan Jensen was limited, but he's trending in the direction of playing. He didn't practice on Monday. Okay. He was limited yesterday, so he's probably going to practice in full or limited again today. He is more likely to play because he's, again, trending the right direction, where Levante David is not practicing at all. And then Antoine Winfield Jr. also not practicing right now. He's dealing with a concussion. As we know with concussions, you have to be cleared to play. You can't just play through a concussion. So status for him is a little bit up in the air, but we'll see what happens today. Potentially he could play. And then Lane Johnson, we're not sure if he's going to play right now. He's dealing with a personal matter, but everyone else, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, all practiced, and Jordan Mailata practiced in full yesterday. So the Eagles offensive line should be back for the most part. We're just going to see about Lane Johnson. But that's really good for Jalen Hurts because he's going to need all of those guys to play in full.
Well, Dallas Goddard is out. He was on the COVID list.
So what I was reading actually this morning is there is a small chance he's going to play.
How?
Very, very small. Because he's vaccinated, so he has to be one negative test and asymptomatic for 48 hours. So we know that he went on the COVID list yesterday. So depending on what happens, they were saying it's a very small window that he could potentially be cleared to play, but again, very unlikely. And that's why we will get into Zach Ertz later in the segment. But if you want to start with the Buccaneers and kind of your expectations for this game, I'd love your thoughts on that because the Eagles are the team that's be harder to figure out for this one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles defense, I mean, you think that they would just get shredded up, right? And then they picked off Sam Darnold. Listen, I get it. It's Sam Darnold versus Tom Brady. I get it. There's a big difference. But
a little bit.
Just a little difference between Sam Darnold and Tom Brady. But I understand that the Eagles' defense is not a strong suit of that team, right? And the offensive line has been problematic, and we know that Tampa Bay's defensive front is outstanding, right? You know, JPP, Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea. I'm concerned for first of all, I'm concerned for the Eagles' rushing attack. Like, I think this is going to be the game, man, where people are either all in on Jalen Hurts or completely out. Like, I really do. It's already
it could be a statement game
because he's going to need to throw the ball to win. I think Tampa Bay is going to put up a lot of points on this team. Now, this is kind of straddling the fence, right? Does Tampa Bay just go in here and just try to get the victory and go away? Like, we're playing on Thursday. We only had 2 days rest. Let's just run Leonard Fournette, take care of Brady's hand. We got 10 days rest after this. Let's just get in, get the dub, and get out. Or do they really try to put it on Philadelphia and pour it on? Does Tom Brady go to add to his MVP numbers? If that happens, Jalen Hurts is going to be required to throw the ball. Like, and I'm not talking, 10-yard outs and slant plays. He's going to have to take shots down the field to Devonta Smith, to Quez Watkins. And right now, if you're going to exploit Tampa Bay, you have to do it down the field. You have to push the ball downfield, attack, threaten that secondary. You said Antoine Winfield is dealing with the concussion. There is no Carlton Davis. Sean Murphy Bunting is not there. Richard Sherman still is an old man. You've got to attack down the field with your weapons, and Jalen Hurts has to do that. If he cannot do that in this game, I think majority of people are going to, like, just the narrative around Jalen Hurts, regardless if that's what the team thinks about him, the narrative is going to be he couldn't even beat a bad secondary. Like, he couldn't even get down the field and beat a bad secondary. On Tampa Bay's side of the ball, I saw Hunter say he's smashing the Leonard Fournette over. It's the feature back, and with Tom having a sore thumb, I think they'll run a little bit more. That's what I was talking about. Do they just try to run the ball, get out of that matchup, and move on with the week? This is an intriguing one.
I agree with that.
This is an intriguing one because
I think we could see that for sure.
Because everybody talked about how Tampa Bay was just going to go in there and stomp New England, and it came down to a field goal. Tom Brady is the GOAT. Tom Brady is playing like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. But this Tampa Bay team right now is not the same Tampa Bay team that we saw last year. And in large part of that is just due to injuries, right? They had like no injuries last year. They were the healthiest team. They returned everybody. But they're not as dominant as we thought on both sides of the ball. Offensively, I think there's no question. I mean, Antonio Brown literally looks like the AB from Pittsburgh. He looks like Antonio Brown. Again, the fact that he's this good after almost not playing for 2 seasons is incredible. You still have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Tight ends are fine. Running back Leonard Fournette looks like he's got his juice back. I don't know, man. This is just an intriguing matchup for me, and I really like a lot of the props in here. And I'm telling you right now, whatever the rushing yard props are for Philadelphia, I'm taking the under. Like, whatever they're at, I'm taking the under.
Really?
Yeah,
they're very low. But yeah, to talk more about your point about the passing game, both teams are terrible in adjusted completion percentage. They both allow like 81.5% adjusted against all teams in the NFL so far through 4 weeks because the week 5 stats haven't been added yet. So they are bad, like very bad against the pass. And so that's why, to your point about Jalen Hurts, he needs to be able to exploit this matchup. And to your point about Tom Brady being the best quarterback in football right now, Jalen Hurts, surprisingly, has a better passer rating than Tom Brady does, which was shocking to me. I did not expect that at all. But Tom Brady and his bunch of wide receivers are going to score a ton of touchdowns. And I think, we talk about Leonard Fournette running the ball a lot. I think both could be true. I think we could see a lot of Brady and we see a lot of Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, his over-under is like 62, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But Brady over 2.5 touchdowns, I think it's a lock. I think it's going to be for sure. I'm very confident in it. It's plus 110.
That's plus 110? Plus 110?
Because it's a 2.5. You do get a bit of juice on it. But yeah, I'm very confident in this right now. Sam Darnold didn't look good last week, but we are not comparing Tom Brady to Sam Darnold. When a elite quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, played against this same defense, he put up 5 touchdowns. So I think that Tom Brady can easily throw 3, and he has the weapons to do it absolutely. So when it comes down to the actual receiving game, though, I'm curious how you think it's going to break down as far as Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is my favorite receiver in this contest because we know Darius Slay is probably going to play primarily on Mike Evans. So we'll kind of see what happens from there. But I'm loving Antonio Brown in this matchup. I want his overs for every single line he has. The main one I like is the receiving yards, like I gave to you. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. His little.
Oh, shit.
You never get that?
Hold on, baby. Say it again for the people. I like that.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He actually, it's one he's had for a long time. If you followed AB for a long time, this is something from back when he was in Pittsburgh. Part of it is the black and gold, right? So float like a butterfly, sting like AB. He actually has a mural of himself and a butterfly in his gym in Florida. It's really, really cool. Have you ever seen a picture of it? He got like this artist to do it, but it says that it's like his little signature, float like a butterfly, sting like AB. And it finally came back last week. I know that the Bucs tweeted it out. I think the NFL tweeted it out as well. But yeah, over under 63.5 receiving yards. Love that number as well. You have 4.5 receptions minus 158.
Hey man, hey.
What's up?
I thought you came up with that, and that was just something that was already done.
No. I've known about it for a long time. It's not new, but I'll take credit for it.
I'll take my hand clap back. That's horseshit, man. I thought you were clever. I'll take my hand clap back.
No, he's had it for a long time. So the fact that you don't know, that's just sad. But yeah, 61 and a half. If Mike Evans 61 and a half, either way. 61 and a half receiving yards, 4.5 receptions, longest reception over 23 and a half. He's hit that 3 out of 4 weeks. The only week he didn't was against the Falcons. I would take the over on every single one and anytime touchdown plus 125. I love it. I just love it.
I love that. I love that too.
He's getting a lot of deep targets, especially. But yeah, 23 and a half. I've been hitting those longer reception props. And it's just one that I think he's very beatable for AB. And he's been the deep threat on this offense. Chris Godwin's a bit banged up. I do like Mike Evans as well, but I think he will see a bit more of Darius Slay. That's why I'm just kind of staying away a bit from Mike Evans and going more.
You think Slay's going to play on Mike? Hey, Hunter, the prospect code FTN. You think Slay's going to stick to Mike Evans in this matchup?
Not stick to him, but I think he will see more Mike Evans because he'll be playing primarily outside where we see AB a little bit more in the slot. He may play some AB too, but again, being the slight Mike Evans hater that I am, I'm more confident in AB to beat Darius Slay than I am Mike Evans. Darius Slay played he had 2 interceptions last week, played great against DJ Moore, but I do think that AB is a little bit of a different animal, a little bit more physical, and Mike Evans can still win. But if Darius Slay is going up against Mike Evans, that frees up AB for lots of targets, and I'm sure we'll see them matched up a little bit back and forth. The one I'm worried about is Chris Godwin.
I'll tell you, last week, I think it was Hunter. It may have been you. It may have been Jorgen from Germany. We were talking about Tom Brady's rushing yard props, and it was like 1.5 last week, and I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. He's been running a lot more, and he hit he went over his rushing yard total last week. Over under set at 1.5 yards again. I wouldn't do it, man. I wouldn't do it. Tom Brady's good for a couple of quarterback sneaks. I would just stay away from Tom Brady. I'm not fooling with Tom Brady's rushing yard props. I hate the 1.5 half a yard rushing yard props. I hate them. Unless it's Ben Roethlisberger, and if it's whatever Big Ben's is set at, I'm taking the under. But Tom Brady, I do not like the over on his rushing yards. Leonard Fournette, 62.5 rushing yards, and then 25.5 receiving yards, minus 114. You interested in either of those? I mean, I'm with you. I just want to say I'm with you on AB. Anytime touchdown scorer, over his reception totals, over his receiving yard totals, I'm with you on those. I don't know about Mike Evans. I probably wouldn't touch Mike Evans if I were going to do anything and be an anytime touchdown scorer for Mike Evans. Because if we're bullish on Tom Brady going over 2.5, if we're bullish on Tom Brady going over 2.5 passing touchdowns, then somebody's going to catch those, right? And see, everyone's, with his hurt thumb, they might be trying to pick up, a short gain on the ground. I mean, how hurt is his thumb? I mean, he just went 405, man.
Yeah, he said it's not going to be a concern, which tells me that it's probably going to be fine. It may be a little bit sore, but like I said, I don't think he would lie and say that it's more sore than it is or it's less sore than it is. I'm sure he's just going to deal with the pain. Maybe he gets a small little injection or something, numb the pain, whatever it is. I think he's going to be okay. Yeah. I'm not as worried about it. But yeah, definitely, Leonard Fournette, 62.5 rushing yards. I love that number. I think it's easily beatable. The Eagles aren't the best on the ground. And he's been playing great, getting a lot of snaps, running the ball really, really well. And that Bucs O-line is playing really great on top of that. So that's why I think I'm staying in those Flames. It's really just who's going to get the touchdowns. And to your point, Mike Evans plus 110 on BetMGM or minus 105 on the low end on FanDuel. Still great odds, basically a coin flip. And Mike Evans is probably worth a coin flip in this game to score a touchdown. And that's probably the one way I would lean with Evans. If you want to get into the Eagles now, talking about Jalen Hurts, we got to talk about Jalen Hurts rushing prop because you're Ray G, the Russian pop god. And I do think this is one that he could beat. What are your thoughts on Jalen Hurts and kind of how are you analyzing his potential rushing prop at 43.5?
He's going to have to run. He's going to have to run. If that defensive line is going to get pressure. Now, if Levante David is out, that's good for Jalen Hurts. That's good for Jalen Hurts. 43.5 yards, though, man. Listen, here's why I don't like this one. Tampa Bay has given up the fewest rushing yards in the NFL in total, 229 yards that they've given up through 5 games. They're averaging 45.8 yards given up per game on the ground. Number one in the NFL. I don't like it for Hurts, man. And what I always look at with these quarterback rushing props, defensive line and linebackers, like, do they have a front seven that can make life hell on Jalen Hurts? And I'm going to assume that the defensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, they're going to make Jalen throw the ball. Like, I'm going to spy you with a linebacker and force you to throw the ball. I don't like it. They're the number one rushing defense in the NFL. Conversely, to illustrate and highlight the Leonard Fournette point, Philadelphia is third worst in the NFL. They've given up 710 rushing yards on the ground. The only teams who have given up more yards on the ground are the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Chargers. And when you're talking about rushing yards per game given up, Philadelphia, once again, third worst in the NFL, giving up 142 yards per game on the ground. Only teams worse, Seattle and the Chargers, and then right ahead of them, Kansas City and Arizona. So just
terrible.
Just keep that in mind when you're thinking about these rushing props. So Philadelphia is terrible as far as defending the run. Now the pass is kind of a different story. Philadelphia, surprisingly, Jay, has given up the third fewest passing yards in the NFL collectively as a team. Surprisingly.
Well, part of that is because of the Falcons game and the Carolina game.
I get it. I'm just telling you, right now they're only giving up 194.8 passing yards per game. Third best in the NFL behind Buffalo and Carolina. So I'm just giving you the stats. Like, I understand who they played, but one thing that is for certain is Tampa Bay's rush defense is legit. So if you're betting the over on Jalen Hurts, 43.5 rushing yards, you're pretty much saying he's going to defeat Tampa Bay's average by himself because they're only giving up 45. I probably would stay away from it, man. Chris says they have the best rushing defense in the NFL, but they haven't played a mobile QB yet. I hear you. This is one that I wouldn't want to risk my money on. I wouldn't want to risk my money on this one as far as Jalen Hurts rushing prop.
Yeah, Jalen's only hit this 3 of 5 weeks, and that 1 week that he did hit it last week was against Kansas City. So again, in more of a shootout game where he had to run a little bit to make things happen. I actually do think he could hit it in this game, but I do see your reasoning for sure, and I'm kind of with you on that. But when you talk about the passing, it's 285.5 yards, 1.5 touchdowns. The over is minus 135. But the passing attempts is 39.5 passing attempts for Jalen Hurts as the over-under. I honestly kind of want to take the under, but I could definitely see a scenario where it's going over. It just depends on how well he plays, right? Well, he's never really he's come close to there. He threw 48 against Kansas City. And so if you want to use the Kansas City game as that mold, remember that game was 30-42. Patrick Mahomes, like you mentioned, only threw 285 yards, but threw 5 touchdowns. So we'll kind of see what happens. 40 pass attempts is a lot, and a lot for Jalen Hurts, particularly because he carries the ball.
Well, they're not going to be able to run it. They're not going to be able to run the ball. Like, I'm telling you, they will not be able to run the ball on Tampa Bay. They're not. So, again, I just don't want to touch it. And Elliot Chris, FTN Fantasy, man, Elliot Chris, shout out to Elliot. He told me the smartest thing to do in betting is when you know just not to bet it. Like, just to say, I don't know, and I'm not going to touch it. I'm not touching it, man. Like, I've seen Tampa Bay shut down every running team. Like, I've seen them shut them down. I'm not touching anything on the ground for Philadelphia. I'm just not going to do it.
So then if we're going to transition a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And we want to talk about, so we're not going to Miles Sanders, 33.5 rushing yards, super
Not
low.
doing it.
I was like,
Not
well,
touching it.
you never know.
Not
9.5
touching it.
carries. Maybe I want to take the under on Miles Sanders carries again. I'm not going to go that way. But I do want to talk about Kenneth Gainwell, because Kenneth Gainwell over 25.5 receiving yards. And to everyone, so they know, Miles Sanders is 23.5. Myles Gaskin last week went 10 for 10 for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we talked about this the very first week of the season. Opening week, Dallas Cowboys, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The only way the Cowboys are going to win is if they play on the edges and they stretch the field laterally.
Yep.
That is the only way the Eagles are going to have a chance out of the backfield to beat this team. They're going to have to give Kenneth Gainwell the ball. He's been spectacular this season. He's been playing really, really well. He hasn't hit this number in too many games. But the reason why I'm not as worried about that is because all you have to do is go back to last week, and you see a running back who is great in the passing game, not as good as Kenneth Gainwell, in my opinion, especially through the air. I think he could easily hit this number, and I think the usage will be there. The snaps were down a little bit last week, again, in a very close game. Miles Sanders got a few more snaps, but I'm expecting it to be in the 30 to 40% range where he's been this season, and he's going to get more volume just because, again, they're going to need to throw the ball, and they're probably going to have to stretch the edges, and Kenneth Gainwell is one of the perfect players in this game script to do that.
This is an intriguing one. Gainwell's been kind of he was non-existent last week, 2 for 16, 3 targets, 1 reception, 8 yards. But the week before that, he had 58 receiving yards. The week before that, 32 receiving yards. And then the second week of the season, 2 for 18. If I were going to touch anything, it would be this, because I do think that is the way that you have to threaten Tampa Bay, and it's laterally. Like you have to try to spread them out. You cannot slam the ball up the middle and think that's going to work to beat Tampa Bay. My question is his snap share, his usage just was so down. I mean, he only played 24% of snaps in week 5. But the week before that, I mean, it was trending positive. He goes from 33%, 31%, 39%, down to 24% in a tight matchup in a game in which, they were behind. A lot of that game, they were behind in Carolina, and he only played 24% of offensive snaps, which is concerning for me. So if you're betting on a player to hit the over on any prop, and they're playing less than 40% of the snaps, which he has not hit at one point in time this season, I do not like it, man. I think the plays in this game are Devonta Smith, Quez Watkins, and Zach Ertz or Dallas Goddard. I think those are the props that I'm confident in touching. Where's Devonta Smith at right now?
He is 71 and a half rushing yards or receiving yards and 1.5 receptions or 5.5 receptions. To your point, he's been 7 receptions and at least 77 yards in his last 2 games. He went over 125 against Kansas City. And if he's playing against Richard Sherman, which all accounts, he will probably get some snaps against Richard Sherman. It ain't the old Richard Sherman. This is the old man, Richard Sherman, and he cannot hang with Devonta Smith, period. As physical as he can be and as well as he can play, Devonta Smith will abuse him if he's matched up one-on-one with him. He'll have to play off coverage. He'll have to play bail technique. He'll probably need safety help. And that's the reason why I do like this over for Devonta Smith. He is trending in the right direction. And we talked about him a few days ago when we talked about Jamar Chase and how great Jamar Chase has played, but he's just overshadowing Devonta Smith because of how well he's playing. But Devonta Smith is still playing very well in his own right. And I think you said he's on pace to go over 100 receptions and over 1,000 yards, which that tells you everything about how great he's playing.
On pace.
And
he's
I
on pace
him
for
to be better.
He's on pace for 85 receptions and 1,100 yards. That's what he's on pace for this season.
Yeah. So again, he's trending the right direction. Damn, like he's going to be great. And that connection with Jalen Hurts is real. And he's going to be their main chain mover again this season. Like you talked about Quez Watkins, his over-under is 40 receiving yards, 39.5. So if you want to bet the over there, I'd probably be more inclined to go after his longest reception because we know that he is more of a deep threat. It's only 19.5. So
I
think
would
about
smash
that.
I like that. I like the over on that, on his longest reception. I like that.
Yeah, so if you want to even maybe hit both, maybe you hit one, not the other. But I do like both. I think 40 is very beatable. He could hit that on one play. But I think the longest reception is just more of a guarantee. And if you do want a long shot touchdown bet, 310 at a touchdown, which I think is pretty fair. That's on BetMGM. It's down to 240 on FanDuel. But yeah, 3-1 for him to score a touchdown is great odds for a guy that we know can get deep. It's just unfortunate that there was that one play, 92 yards, no touchdown.
Yeah,
I think
that's
too.
That's our boy Cody Carpentier's guy. He's all over Quez Watkins. He loves him some Quez Watkins, but I do like that. 19.5, so he's got to catch a 20-yard pass?
Yeah, that's it. 20 yards. For
I
a deep threat is super low.
My story, you know, we always talk about make your bets tell a story, is Tampa Bay puts up a lot of points, forces Philadelphia to have to throw the ball. Philadelphia can't run the ball, so they're going to have no choice but to get it out quick. I like Devonta Smith over. I like Quez Watkins over his long reception total. Kenneth Gainwell, that one I don't have a ton of conviction in, but I can see that come into fruition. But I want to see an upset. I want to see Philadelphia somehow. Every time you roll your eyes at me, the opposite happens. So continue to do that. Every time you rolled your eyes at me, Kyle Pitts' first touchdown score, you rolled your eyes at me. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You rolled your eyes at me when I said New England would not get blown out by Tampa Bay. You rolled your eyes at me when I said Dallas is going to play Tampa Bay. You thought they were going to get steamrolled by Tampa Bay. Listen, true. Every time you've done that to me, I've been right. So everybody out there, tease it 7.5 points. Give Philly 14.5.
So you're telling me that you need to tease it? You can't even have enough conviction to just pull the money line at it's probably like plus 300 right now.
Dude, if the teacher gives you an opportunity to use 1 page of notes on the test, why would you refuse it?
I don't even know. Please decipher that analogy for me right here.
If I have the option to add a couple of more points on my bet to give my team a little more cushion, why not? I mean, why not tease? I'll tease everything.
But what are the odds going to be on that?
I don't give a shit what the odds
actually, the odds have already moved to 6.5. So they're trending in the right direction for you. But if they're already 6.5 and you tease them to 14, it's minus 107. So what are you going to get? Minus 240?
Well, I'm gonna put 6 other games on the parlay. That's what I'm gonna do. But listen, once again, I am calling it. Tampa Bay will not blow out Philadelphia, and this will be a much closer game than people expect. And Philadelphia will not get beat by more than 14.5 points.
Okay, well, let's just touch on Zach Ertz real quick. 44.5 receiving yards over under and 225 anytime touchdown. If Dallas Goddard does not play, which we're not expecting him to, I do like both of those numbers. I think he's going to be heavily involved in the offense. Without Goddard, he's already heavily involved with Goddard in the offense, but it just opens up more opportunities for him. Yeah. And I think last week was the week that he almost scored a touchdown, but they called it back on an illegal or on a pick play. And so I think he's looking to get in the end zone. I think he really could this week. I think it'd be a good bet to bet on him to score a touchdown.
With you. All right, there you go. Thursday Night Football. Thank you, Jay. Thursday Night Football, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay. We will get into the NFL slate starting tomorrow. Take a look at these matchups for this coming Sunday. I haven't even looked at the schedule, man. All I know is the San Francisco 49ers are on bye. I know the Atlanta Falcons are on bye, so we're going to start to get some of those bye week games. Make sure you get your waiver claims in today, and make sure you tap in with us tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wait, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and subscribe to the podcast feed. Subscribe to Bets TV. All that good stuff.
All right, Jay said it, man. We out. Peace.